Russia launches an anti-satellite missile. A dancing star proves Einstein right. And happy birthday on Saturday, Hubble. It's Tuesday, April 21, 2020, day 30 of lockdown here in Australia. Let's talk some science.
Across Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts and YouTube, this is Talking Science with Dr. Brad Tucker and Matt Miller.
Yes, indeedy, it is another Tuesday, it's another Talkin Science, and it's another lockdown day as well. Brad, happy Tuesday.
Yeah, how's it going?
Really good, really good. The whole home setup, it's not too bad for Trekzone because it's where we are normally, but everyone around the world is coping with this new normal.
Yeah, new normal, I think is a good word. I mean, look, while it's been an adjustment for some people, I kind of hope that, maybe once this all resolves, some things will be learned and they'll be able to improve some of the ways we do normal operations as opposed to just kind of reverting immediately back to what we used to do.
It is incredible to think that a lot of the stuff that we go into the office for and we sit in peak hour traffic for really doesn't need to happen. We can do most of the stuff from home.
That's right. So you gotta have to hope that maybe that there is a better way of doing business. For accessibility issues for people. Well, it actually isn't that hard to do those sorts of things. And so hopefully that we see some positive evolution. Let's call it.
Absolutely.
Talking Science headlines.
Well, let's dive into those headlines of the week. A couple of good ones. Virgin Orbit, I'd completely forgotten that they were there and joining this private company race, but they've had a successful test flight.
That's right, yeah. We've talked about Virgin Galactic, we talked about everyone else. Virgin Orbit, again, is kind of doing their own unique thing where they're launching rockets off of 747s. Now, this is not a unique idea, but again, they're trying to commercialize it and do it efficiently. And so they did their final test. It went according to plan, and they're essentially ready to start operations. So, good on Virgin Orbit for getting there.
And we've been alluding to this for the last few weeks. Will they, won't they? Finally, NASA have said that yes, they will be. On the 27th of May, US time, SpaceX's Crew Dragon will be launching the first Americans into orbit from American soil since 2011.
That's right. They finally set that date of it's May 28th at 6:40 a.m. Australia time for that launch. So, we'll see how it goes, but they're pushing ahead. And if they set a launch date, within about 5 weeks, that means they're starting the preparation. So that's not going to slow them down.
And a new comet may soon be lighting up our night skies or possibly our daytime skies if it gets any closer.
Comet Atlas was in the news a couple of weeks ago, but the problem with comets is they're like cats. You never know what they're going to do, and they don't like you. and so Comet Atlas broke up, but another comet, Comet Swan, is brightening. It's already visible with small telescopes, and it could be visible to the naked eye in a few weeks, or it could turn into Atlas and melt and break apart. So, we'll see what happens, but it could be a cool show in the skies in a few weeks.
I was watching the track on this one just very quickly, and I think that the best vantage point is going to be sitting on Mars with a pair of binoculars.
Yeah, look, if you're on Mars, you would be in a very good spot. Luckily, the Southern Hemisphere isn't too bad for this one.
Talking Science, stories of the week.
Bit of doom and gloom, or potential doom and gloom. Russia has launched an anti-satellite missile. Not the first time that they've done this, not the first time they've had this capability, but they're really ramping up the testing on this anti-satellite capability in a growing arms race in space.
That's right. Now, we'll just be clear here. They didn't actually end up physically launching and destroying a target. It was a simulated mission with a real launch to a kind of simulated target. And as I said, this isn't new, but it was a new version of a test, a new missile, and follows after some stories that we've covered about Space Force's first launch into space, also Space Force saying about Russian interference with satellites. And one of the things that people were inherently worried about in this growing militarization of space and exactly things like this, moving more and more into conflict in space. So it's definitely an area to watch out for.
Alrighty, well, our next story of the week is a little bit calmer and quite cool. The Very Large Telescope in Chile has been precisely measuring a star's orbit around a black hole here in the Milky Way, and we've proven Einstein right yet again.
Yeah, this is a really cool project because this is talk about dedication. These are observations that have been going on for 3 decades now. And that is at the center of our galaxy, Sagittarius A star, the supermassive black hole that resides there. They've been tracing the motions of stars around that black hole. And as the instruments have gotten better and telescopes have gotten better, they get finer resolution, and they're able to precisely measure how the star is moving around the black hole and how that movement is influenced by the physics of the black hole, general relativity, something Einstein predicted and people have calculated solutions to. And a really cool effect, which is called essentially the precession, or the kind of the wobbling of the orbit, has been conclusively detected with one star in particular around this black hole.
Alrighty, Brad, well, our last story of the week, and for everyone listening to us on Tuesday, this is up on Saturday. For everyone catching the deep dive into this story on Friday, this is tomorrow. Hubble's turning 30.
Yeah, launched April 24th, 1990. It's been in orbit for 30 years, or it will be on 30 years on Saturday. And it's quite remarkable how it came to be. And it's also remarkable that it's still there and it's still kicking scientific butt. It's the gold standard of space telescopes. It's the Rocky of boxers. It's the Babe Ruth of baseball players.
The thing I love about it is that it wasn't always going to be the Rocky of space telescopes, because it had a bit of a rough start.
It had a really rough start. It took a while to get up to launch. It took the better part of 15 years from kind of start to actually launch. So this is the project that started in the 70s in terms of its build and growing. Yet when the Hubble Space Telescope was launched, there was a problem, and that is the mirror of the telescope, the main mirror, was slightly installed wrong. And we're not talking about, it's on a giant edge. How did you miss it? It's just ever so slightly, kind of like if you wear glasses and you slightly tilt your glass, where you can still see through it, but it's slightly weird, but maybe you can compensate, maybe you can deal with it. Well, in space, yeah, you can kind of deal with it, but at the precision they need, the first images were really blurry, and their giant billion-dollar space telescope was producing blurry images, and that's not a good thing.
Fantastic, Brad. It is fun to pick apart the stories of the week with you each and every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. We can find you on social media, Twitter at btucker22 and Dr. Brad Tucker on Facebook. You've got those educational live streams continuing, doing some really great job, and teaching the kids some great astronomy there as well, and people can find those on your Facebook page and your socials. And of course you can find Trekzone across social media. Just search for Trekzone. You can find me on Twitter at Miramat86.
Yeah, we'll keep doing them. Next week will be all about black holes. So if you really want to know black holes, we're going to dive into it, but not in the horrible spaghettification dying way.
Fantastic, Brad. We'll chat to you next week.
See ya.